Hey everybody, Tim Higgins here. So I want to do a quick little video. I don't know how quick it's going to be, but I want to do a video on creating your own sandbox with TDM. Now we're looking at creating just a temporary type server that you can go in and play with and modify. There's a lot of little gotchas in doing a Windows version, like connecting a SQL Server and stuff. Technically they're all Windows versions, but your data source can be mainly Oracle or SQL. But we're going to work through this so you'll know how to create your own sandbox and you can go play with TDM. Now, I don't know about license and stuff. I'm an architect, right? So I don't know if there's a trial license or anything like that. But I do have questions a lot about some of the best practices about just getting it started. And I started thinking, I never even did a video on that. So let's do a video on how to set up your own sandbox. So the first thing I did was I came into AWS and I stood up an AWS server. Okay, this could be a VM or just, a physical for, if you're still going that path or whatever it takes. But most importantly is your size. So I did I think a 2 large, or yeah, so 2TX large. That gives me, I set this up yesterday. I think this gives me 8 gigs of RAM maybe, but it's not a very big machine. So we don't want a production ready machine. We just want something kind of small enough that we can work with. Very important, my storage, I went to 100 gigs. You probably can get with a lot less. What I'm doing though is I'm making everything on one box. And the reason I say that is because I'm actually installing my repository and everything on the same machine. Now, in my version that I give the demos and the POCs and all that all the time, I have my database storage actually in an RDS, right? So it's in a separate total database that's not even on the server. That way, if anything happens to my server, if I want to move around or install new, I can always reconnect to that one and it's good to go. But in this case, we're just doing a simple sandbox. Again, I don't know how much memory. I could probably figure it out, but I'm sure if you just Google, this size, and see what size you need, that's fine. One thing about TDM is it's running SQL calls, right? So SQL calls are going to be pretty CPU intense. So you want something that's decent. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close this. And I don't care if you captured my IPs and stuff. I'm going to delete the server when it's done. So we're going to go ahead and just minimize this. The other thing is you want to go to support.com. Okay, I think I already logged in, but that's okay. Tomato. We'll just close that one because oops. Oh, well, either way, right? So we're going to log in. You want to go download the software. The software can be kind of tricky. Now notice I have an account, so I have software. So if I go to entitlements, my downloads maybe? Yeah, here we go. This is the page I was looking for, my downloads. I was looking for my products, but that's something totally different. So let's go to test data. And by the way, even if I'm recording this and you see that, keep in mind, I've been doing TDM for a long, long time. So a lot of those are no longer valid. But with this, I'm in here and there's a whole bunch of stuff. So the question is, what do I pick? Okay. I usually do this test data for data generation test matching. We don't do much test matching anymore. I'm assuming the tools are still there because I see the options, but it's not really much difference than masking subsetting. A lot of this has to do with the license that you have. Because if I click on this, I went ahead and downloaded the latest, which is 4.10. But if I go in here and look, now from here, the full package is right here. That's what you want to get. Okay, so you want to download the full package. Once you get that, you also want to get the database install kit. Okay, those are the main two. Now I haven't done a Docker yet. I'm kind of excited about doing one. I've just been very busy with customers and procrastinating when it comes to doing that because I haven't really had a need yet. But I want to do that. But because I'm kind of curious of how I don't know if you can do the thick client with a Docker. I mean, you could, right? It's just a Windows machine, but I feel like that'd be a lot of work. So I'm not sure how they're doing that. The portal, of course, you can always Dockerize that. And I think that's the only thing they're Dockering. Here it does say portal, here it does not. And that's why I'm kind of confused. I know it's a compose file, we can download and look at it, but that's another video. The fast data masker is a tool that you're going to use, but it should be bundled up into this tool. If it's not, we'll go back and get it. Now, I downloaded this already. The other thing I downloaded too was I went SQL Express. I went to a free database, and I want to focus on Windows in this environment, just because a lot of the gotchas have to do with Windows. Okay, so here they have these two options. There's a developer and Express, and I just Google download Windows Express. Right, nothing magic. And in the Express, this is one I've used for years, well over 10 years. Because it is free, right? And you can use it. It does have limitations. You want to see what that is. It's definitely not a production database, but To me, it's probably around the realms of MySQL, right? So if you had to compare the two. I don't know what this is, and I don't know what the difference is. Now, I do know when you have an MSDN license, you can install a developer version of your SQL Server, which is everything, and it's not limited, but they're telling you can only use it for developers. Now, for developing. So it sounds like you can download the full-blown database, install it, and then only use it for test databasing and development, which is kind of what we're doing here, right? It's a sandbox. Even though I didn't do this one, maybe I'll try it again later. I went ahead and went with this one because this is what most people are probably going to use anyway, just because, just like me, it's been around for a long time, and they're kind of used to it. Okay, so let's go look at my machine. Now, I did all this yesterday because it really took time, right? You guys didn't want to see a 2-hour video of me clicking next, next, next. So I went ahead and installed everything, but I want to walk you through what I did. Sorry, I had mics in the way. I went ahead and walk you through what I did just so you understand. Now, I didn't set it up. That's the gotcha parts. But I did went ahead and install everything just so you didn't have to watch the next, next, next scenario. So here I unzipped my full package, which I told you to download. Here it is. And if we look inside the full package, there's this fast data masker. Remember, so you don't worry too much about it. There's an SDK that comes with it. Now that's for the masking, not for TDM itself. And then there's a portal. We'll install it later. I didn't install that one because there's some setups for that. But I did run the setup GT server, okay, which gave me my GT data maker and my GT EDI, which I don't think I've ever even used that. It looks like a really cool tool, but I've never used it. And then the fast data masker. That's what I'm saying. I don't think you have to download it because it installs it for you. And it even went ahead and gave us Javelin as well. So it installs everything. It is a long install, but it's not too rocket science. There's not a lot of options you have to go through, like next, next, next type scenarios. It really just installs everything it needs. The other thing I did was I went ahead and installed the database. Let's just look. So we have search Javelin, fast data masker. And on the database, I went ahead and just installed the Express. I noticed this Express didn't come with SSMS, which is SQL Server Management Studio. So I had to download that separately. And install it. Now, I was given a few seconds to spin it, but if you really gave it enough time, it might have, the developer edition might have installed it. And what I mean by give enough time, if you tried the development one, just to see what it would do, that might have gave you the studio. The Express version did not, at least not that I saw. I might have overlooked it. So let's go ahead and close that because I want this to spin up. The databases, I don't think I've copied them over yet, so that's something we can do now. So with that, I do have it in Dropbox. Okay. Upgrade your browser. Well, okay, so it doesn't like IE. That's good because I don't like using IE. We'll go to Chrome. I did install Chrome. Here we go. And this thing's taking forever. Okay, so there's our Express. I used a super duper password called let me in. Okay. It's a password I don't use for anything else, so it's a good one. It's one I used about 10 years ago, and I stopped using it. This took a few seconds to open, so now it's open. Let's just look at it. So we have no databases. Okay, we are connected local. I don't know my machine name, but I'm going to assume that's it because it's pretty ugly. But I do know I have the SQL Express, and this is the only place I'm running SQL Express. So let's go to Dropbox. See if it remembers me. It does. Great. So I don't want to install it. I want to go look at my files. Looks like I may be pushing the limit on the size. So dismiss. Let's go to TDM. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. Okay, just because I don't want to kill my Dropbox. And I'm going to, you know what, let me look at my downloads first. Just make sure I didn't download those already. Oh, we did. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and delete them, but I'll show you what we've got. Because I thought about it when I saw this Express. I'm like, huh, I should have already downloaded that. So let's go ahead and delete that. And let's go ahead and close my Dropbox. One thing that's left in there is this database toolkit. So there's the SSMS, that's the Express, and then that's the toolkit. So I'm going to copy the I can't even say it. The database kit, install kit, to my C drive, to my desktop, and we're going to extract it. Okay. I have tools on my machine and I get kind of lost looking for my tools and I keep thinking, oh, this is a clean machine. There's really nothing installed on this other than what I'm telling you. I didn't install Chrome because I don't like IE Edge is supposed to be pretty good, but tomato, tomato. You know, we do what we're used to. So I'm going to extract this. And in here we have some options, okay? Now, this is the TDM Db Install Kit. This is very important because when we start up our Javelin, when we start up our TDM, especially thick clients, it needs to know where its database is. And right now we don't have one. And the database is the GT rep. So if I go into this TDM database install kit, and there's this one little batch file. Let's look, is it a batch file? So the other thing I like to do is just do view, options. We're adults, so we're gonna use our own brains here. I don't need to keep, sorry, I hit the mic. I don't need to keep all this data, but what I do care about is hiding the extensions, because again, I'm a big boy. Yeah, so that's an exe. I've always done this manually. I've never ran that. I guess you could run it, but let's talk about it manually so we know how it works. So here's SQL Server. There's this create database user. So let's look at it. Okay, so if I go in here and look, so notice it says if SA, so we're going to log in as SA. We have a DB user called DB user. Okay, I don't think I really need this. I was looking to see if it would set up your GT rep one. So let's just go ahead and close that. That may be part of the installer. That was kind of pointless. So what we care about is our GT rep. So if I go in here and look, I have a schema for it. So let's see what that schema looks like. Now here's what I care about. We're using the master table, okay? And basically it's going to set up everything we need, and it creates a user. That's what I was looking for, called the GT rep, okay? So let's see, or creates a role. That's what that is, but I'm sure up here somewhere it's creating the user. So we can run this and manually create our database. And over here, there should be a place. Let's say that's our scrambled database. That's the data. There should be a place where you could, here, this is what I was looking for. So I can also import my data as well. Now, the GT rep you can't import just because it's going to create the database and your connection creates it. But for an example, when we do the credit card one, these are the users I was looking for, right? So it's going to create these users as well. And of course, the password's embedded. So when you want to use it, you can just look, if you forget your password, you can always go back and look at the scripts. So that should have set up my database. Now, if we go over and look, and don't worry, we're going to set up the other databases too, but let's go over here. They're actually easier. If I now try to connect to my GT Data Maker, here's where you're going to get some funny things, okay? If you say you don't know, well, I don't know what it is. Well, it tells you you have to know. So we're going to pick SQL. Now, here you're going to have a problem because there's no ODBS sources, okay? So if we go to here, it has to be a 64-bit. Now, there's a trick to this, and when we have to play around to get it, I'm not sure if it has to be a user or a system, but one of these won't show up either. A 32-bit, if you do it, it doesn't, like, there's a trick to making it show up, right? So you kind of have to play with it to see. And I may have it backwards, so we're going to find out. So let's just say add. It's pretty straightforward anyway. We'll do a SQL 11, finish. Wants to know the server name, which I have no idea. I could probably just do local host. Oh wait, name. Let's give it a name. Let's call it GT rep. This is our 64-bit, right? So -64. Oops, 64. Server. I'm going to drop this down and see if it takes forever, but let's see if it finds our server. I probably shouldn't have done this because I don't know how open this is. This may take days. If it does, I'll pause the video and we'll come back to it. But let's see what happens. Oh, came back as nothing. All right, so what happens if I try localhost? Is it smart? Next. My super duper password of let me in. Okay. Next. So localhost did work. Most importantly, you want to change your database. Notice what I'm doing. I don't want the default database because it will say that it sees the connection, but there's nothing to connect to. And what it's telling you is it can't find that GT rep database. That localhost may not have worked. May have to go back and actually get the server name. That is a weird error that has to do with your opening your connections. but let's just try this. Let's see. Properties. I think it's the full path. If not, it's just the first name. So let's try this again. Who's doing this? Not you. You. So let's try that and see if that works. Next. My super duper password, which I wish you would remember. Okay, next. Now let's try to change our database path. If that doesn't work, we'll have to go open up our pipes. So failed to connect. Let's try one. Oh, password failed. So I'm smart and I put it on a document. Okay, again, I don't care if you try to steal this because this will be deleted and I don't use that password. So I did like 10 years ago, but I stopped using it. So yay, that time it worked. Okay, cool. So we'll minimize that and we'll say next. The rest of this is fine. Most importantly is make sure you connect to your GTRep database. Okay, so we'll say finish, test, always test to make sure you're good. And now we're good. Now if I say okay, and if I go over here and hit this pretty button, hit cancel, notice that opens up a 32-bit. But the problem with the 32-bit is it doesn't show up. So looks like that one didn't either. All right, so let's go try another one now that we've got it. So let's go to ODBC 64. Let's try to add a user. So the difference in the system, it's at different levels, right? Files are physical. System is, I think it's saved in your repository. What's it called? Regedit. I'm not sure. I think it's saved there, but I'm not really quite sure. Regedit is the database for Windows, right? Kind of hidden behind the scenes. Kind of acts that way. Let's go ahead and hit add. We'll just add it here. See if this one works. And we'll call this GTRep. And this will be called 64. And we're going to put dash user, so we know this is the user one. And let's go connect to our server. I gotta go get server again. So give me a second. Properties. Let's put this to our notebooks. I got a funny feeling we're gonna need it a couple of times. Okay. And let's go back to here. Paste that in there. Next, we're gonna do our super duper SA password. And notice that time it wanted the administrator because it's thinking, well, if you're a user, I need to know who you are. But we're still going to log in as SA. That's why I didn't care too much about my users accounts for SQL. GTRep, but it did recognize the database, and we should be able to connect just fine. Okay, and now let's see if it shows up inside of our magic window here. There it is. So that's one of the tricks you got to pay attention to in order for it to show up. Number one. Okay, you have to have a 64-bit ODBC connection, okay? And number two, it has to be user connection. And I know you're like, Tim, what? So if I do ODBC, I've got two options, 32 and 64. By default, the window always opens up the 32-bit one. You have to open up the 64-bit one, so we have to do it manually. When I did the system one, it didn't see it. In fact, I'm going to remove it, just keep this clean. But it did see the user one, okay? So I don't have any other ones in here. I do have the user one, so that's good. It says platform 6432. It's one of those that it goes for the strongest but supports the weakest. So you create it for the 64, but it also supports the 32. And that's probably one of the reasons why it shows up. But anyway, so that's done. Next, here, I like to use my my actual SA, but you can use GTRep's, I think the password is grid tools with the O's as zeros. But again, that's where looking at those files would have helped you, the user files, right? What is the password and stuff. For your schema, since it's Windows, the Windows schema is always DBO, okay? So we're going to connect, we're testing connection, and we're going to wait. And at that point, as soon as it connects, we should have okay, so it looks like I gotta open up this thing. Okay, so yeah, I get you. So the problem here is we got to open up our SQL pipes. Okay, I think it's in here. Yeah, and because it's not set to be automatically looked at. So that's running. I don't think the agent has to be running. I'll show you how to do that in a few seconds. Our protocol pipes, and this is something you can Google as well. So those are enabled. Okay. And see, those are disabled. So we need to enable that. Okay. Now this is opening it up. So we'll have to restart the service. That's fine. And our TCP IPs, we need to enable that. Okay. Yeah. So, and then I always just check this one just to be safe, and they're enabled. Okay, so now let's see if that fixed our problem. Let's go to services. Okay, and a lot of times you have to Google that to be like, what does that even mean? I don't think I have a firewall on this, but I know the rules on inside Amazon is set to accept all traffic. Let's see, what are we looking at? This is SQL, right? Right here, so let's just restart that. I like to physically stop and restart. That way I know that it happened. And I'm going to go and do my SQL browser also. Oh, it's disabled. Won't even let me enable. Oh, yeah, well, I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and just do that one as well. Okay, I'm going to start it. I don't care about the agents because I don't have any jobs running. But I do want the browser, and I do want the normal SQL. Now, you probably don't have to do the browser. It's just something I've always done, and I like doing it. So what we want to do is we want to check again. Okay, so that's saying that the tables can't be found. So let's go ahead and redo this piece. So we're going to say connect. Again, Microsoft, next. Let's see, our ODBC connection, our username and password, okay. I'm like really hitting the keyboard hard, so I'll make sure that it goes good. So you might have heard that. So when I saw this the other day, that means that, like I told you, it can connect to the database, but the tables aren't there. So if I go and look, so it's not generating the tables yet. Notice this last one. The connections were made, but there's no tables to connect to because we haven't installed the portal yet. All right, so close, 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 and close. And let's go install our portal. So that's the piece I wanted you to pay attention anyway. So I didn't install it yet. That's where I got kind of confused because I was thinking I already installed it, even though I already said I didn't. Anyway, so, and I also have this problem where I try to figure out the problem without reading the error message. So next, and next. Wants to know our ports. Next. Where do we want to put it in the database type? That's very important. Okay, next. Now, what is our information? So I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of this information back in. Well, not back in. So here, database GT rep. Notice our default users SA because we want that admin permissions, and we're going to say next. Okay, give it a second so you can look what I've got here. And then here, root password. We're going to just use this the same. I don't recommend that, of course, but again, this is just a lab. Next, this is the services, that's fine. And we're going to say install. Okay, so we're done there. Let's go ahead and hit finish and see what happened. Okay, I know this is done, so we're going to go ahead and close that. And I'm going to go ahead and minimize this because I've got a feeling we're going to need it again. I'm going to look at my database, see if anything happened over here. Let's refresh. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So the portal is actually what does the install. Perfect. So now let's go look at our GT rep. And well, I don't know what's the GT rep. That's named in database. Let's go look at our GT data maker. And we're going to say next, next. Now the portal may work at this point by itself, but I want to make sure everything's connected, right? So we'll go ahead and say next. And here, like I said, I'm glad I kept this because we knew we were going to need it. SA here. You can put DBO here. You don't have to. It will pick it up by default, but I like to do it. The connection valid is valid. We're good. We'll give it a name. That's fine. And then we'll just say we're using this. So now we have a repository. So now we should be able to connect. Now what's missing? This version. Oh, interesting. Above. In order to upgrade, you will need to run the portal. Okay, so let's run the portal. It's kind of wacky, but okay. I was looking for this icon right here. So maybe we should run the reporter first and see what happens. Okay, give it a second. It should be loading. So there are a couple things I know. So it says it can't be reached, but there's a couple things I do know we need to connect. So let's go ahead and go do those real quick while we see what's going on here. So downloads here and here. We're going to go to where it's installed. Here, you want to make sure, 86. And we're looking for grid tools. And in here, it's not there. I thought it was there. Let's try maybe 64-bit. Programs, grid tools right here. Here we go. Well, it's not there either. Maybe it's just not there yet. What I'm looking for is the ability to connect. Now again, keep in mind, this is a version I'm not used to either. We're using the latest version, which is kind of cool. Looking for the configuration manager. Maybe we don't have to use it anymore. Let's see. I noticed it was a CA file. Now I know there's grid tools right here, but that's usually where it just extracts it. Now, maybe this is what I need. So C drive, grid tools, TDOD, that's what I was looking for, configuration manager. Let's go ahead and execute this. And in here, we want to connect this, so SQL Server. This is to connect the TDOD service. So there's two services running. One is the TDOD service, and the other one is a remote publish. We want this one to work. So we're going to go ahead and just say here. And we're going to use our SA again. Again, best practice is you wouldn't use SA, but I am. In my database, I think we have to say GT-rep here. Okay, let's try that. Save and verify. Successfully. Perfect. So just for kicks and giggles, we'll restart the service. Now again, if you go over and look, there's two services. There's remote publish, and then there's this TDOD service. And this right here will actually start, is now running. So if I refresh, it's now running. So you don't have to come in here to your services, but it's there. Okay, so that's good. So let's go ahead, and you can hit this cute little clear button to clear your screen. Just make sure it's completely saved, and let's close that. So that's set up. And now let's go try to open up our portal again. So again, I don't like that. So let's, well, what is your problem? Why didn't you open? Okay, so now we get to log in. Administrator Mermite is your top secret password. And we're connecting. And this is probably what I needed to do. Oh, you know what? Is this install or an upgrade related to new or additional planned usage under probably not. So it wants my license. What if I say no? Ew, I don't have that information. Let's go back here. What if I say yes? Ew, I still don't have that information. So anyway, this is probably as far as we're going to get. But the point is, then you'll be able to put in your information. I was hoping it was asking for a license file, and I think that's why we had a problem with connecting to our database. I have a license file, but I don't. It doesn't give me an option. Like, I don't have this information. I know my company, it's AI Solutions, but I don't have my site ID and I don't have my internal identifier. So I'll have to see what those are. And the same here. It's asking for the same information, so I don't have that. So the point is, even though we went through some gotchas, I did show you some ideas to help you get this installed. You're gonna have to figure out your license thing, because that's really something I can't do. I did copy over my license file, thinking that I could just upload the license file and be done, but it looks like I need more information, which I don't have.